The Virtual Effects Rack is where you'll find your graphic EQs, your effects units, and your premium rack effects. Let's take a look at those functions now. Let's start by touching on the rack icon on the right-hand side of the screen. Next, touch on the tab that says GEQ 1-8. On this page, we will see the 8 graphic EQs which are available under this tab. If you wish to insert one of your graphic EQs on one of your output buses, you can do so by touching where it says No Assign. I'm going to insert this graphic EQ on mix number 1. If I want to insert the next graphic EQ on mix number 2, I can do so by pressing the plus and then selecting mix number 2. Once you have patched your graphic EQs to any of your output buses, whether they be mix, matrix, stereo, or mono, we can touch on them to open up the graphic EQ pop-up window and start adjusting parameters. Touching on one of the frequency columns in the fader assign section will assign that bank of frequencies to the faders in your central logic section. Adjusting those faders will either boost or cut that frequency. If you find yourself in a position where you wish to zero out those frequencies, touching the on button will bring that fader back to its 0 position. Sometimes it is necessary to link 2 graphic EQs together. This can be done by pressing the link icon. Pressing the link icon brings up this pop-up window where we can select how these 2 graphic EQs will be linked. Do you want the parameters from graphic EQ number 1 to go to graphic EQ number 2? Or do you want the parameters from graphic EQ number 2 to go to graphic EQ number 1? You also have the option of resetting both of those graphic EQs. If you look at the tabs, you will see that there is a total of 16 graphic EQs available that can be patched to any of your output buses. Each one of your graphic EQ units is a mono input, mono output 31 band graphic equalizer, giving you a total of 16 channels of graphic equalizer which are available when they're set in this manner. If you wish to have more graphic EQs, you can change those mono input graphic equalizers into what's known as a Flex 15 graphic EQ. The Flex 15 graphic EQ gives you a dual input, dual output, 31 band graphic equalizer. Any 15 bands within that graphic EQ can be adjusted at any one time. If you wish to have more graphic EQ units, you can change one of these graphic EQs into a Flex 15. This is done by touching where it says Mount on the left-hand side. Once your rack mount pop-up window appears, select Flex 15 graphic EQ from the module select area. Then press OK. Now you have a dual input 31 band graphic EQ. With that Flex 15 graphic EQ, you can adjust any 15 frequencies at one time. The available bands indicator in the bottom right will tell you how many adjustments you have left. Let's touch on the Effect tab. On this window, you will see the default effect layout, what mixes are assigned to send signal to those effects, and where those effects are returning their signal to the board. If you wish to make an adjustment to an effect, you can do so by touching on it. On this pop-up, we can see the different effects parameters which are available. To make an adjustment, simply use the multifunction encoders located in the central logic section. You can also use the touch and turn knob to adjust the parameter that is highlighted in pink. If you wish to recall one of the default libraries, you can do so by touching on the library icon. Here, you will find a list of some of our preset effect settings. If you wish to store one of your own effect settings, simply find an open slot, press the store icon, and name your effect. If you wish to change the type of device that is being used, simply touch here in the main window. This opens up a new pop-up which displays all of the different effect devices which are available. Down at the bottom, you can see the Dynamics processors which can also be used for your effect. To choose one of these devices, simply touch on it. Now, my VCM device is ready for use. If I would like to change one of these effects from an effect to a graphic EQ, I can do so by touching where it says Mount. This brings up the Rack Mount pop-up window where you can select the device you would like to use. Any of the devices that you see here can be inserted on an input channel, or they can receive signal from a mix, matrix, stereo, or mono bus. On the Premium tab, we can mount any of our Premium Rack devices for use with the CL Series console. To mount a device, touch where it says Mount for that rack on the left-hand side of your display. This brings up your Premium Rack mounter. You have several different options available to mount to your Premium Rack. These include your Rupert Neve Portico 5033, your Rupert Neve Portico 5043, the U76, the OP2A, EQ1A, and Dynamic EQ. To mount one of these devices, choose either dual mono or stereo. The 1U will be your indication of how many racks that unit will take in your virtual rack. Now that we've mounted that device for use, let's assign an input channel to our Rupert Neve Portico 5033. I'm going to touch here where it says No Assign. From here, I can select which channel or bus I want to use with this device. In this case, let's insert that device on channel number 14. Now that we have our vocal channel inserted on our Rupert Neve Portico 5033, let's edit that device. When editing your Premium Rack device, the assist parameter will allow you to quickly see which multifunction encoder will control which parameter. You can also make that adjustment using the touch and turn knob. If you wish to store your EQ settings to the library, you can do so by touching on the library icon. Keep in mind, up to 8 premium rack devices can be mounted in your premium rack.